So, Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamah Jano Janandidam Satyam Muchyate Bhavabandanat Om Bhagavate Shri Sahajananda Swami Maharajaya Namo Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sarve Avtarebhyo Namo Namaha. So the Sanatana Dharma, as we are talking about, it is a massive ocean. It is an ocean that we cannot drink completely, obviously, just only drops, but those drops are enough. So in our continuing exposition of God realization, we have been talking about the different yogas. We started with Patanjali Yoga Sutra to some extent, and now we are going a little bit further to intersect and interconnect the different yogas, and along that basis, the importance of bhakti is being examined on a daily basis. So the different yogas shown here are different starting points that culminate into the realization of the Atma. So they are all different approaches, and I will be explaining within the next 5 years what all of them are, step by step, how they intersect together and how they interconnect with the major sampradayas within the Sanatana Dharma and the great gurus that have come since Ved Vyasji. So we have been continuing our exploration of bhakti, and the Bhakti Tattva is extraordinarily important. The 9 forms of devotion are known as the Navaratna Malika: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So in the continuing daily exposition on this, the Navaratna Malika is the actual solution to all psychological, family-oriented, societal problems. Any kind of problem that is existing in the world today, the solution is in this Navda Bhakti. And this Navda Bhakti, the power within it is expounded by every great Acharya in all the incarnations of God in different ways, in all the scriptures. Because this is the way that the emotional system begins to take a jump into the divine. See, we have our normal emotions of raga and dvesha, aham and mamat. We have different emotions that are all mixed. The goal of spirituality is to take the emotional system we have and to purify it completely. In Gujarati language, we can use the expression bhavnani shuddhata, ke shuddha bhav, divya bhav. These words are used in Swami Satsang quite a bit, which I'm more familiar with. But every sampradaya in the whole tradition of the Sanatana Dharma that is Vedic in nature actually has the same concepts. The basic concepts are not different. The notion of purification of the emotion is common everywhere, in every path. Because without the emotion, meaning bhava, meaning the different feelings that we have, the bhavas that we have, the affective essences. See this word here? Affective essences is a nice way to put it, because there's not just one word for emotion in the Sanskrit language. So the affective essence that is inside of us is the energy within emotion. So that is the energy of the Paramatma sitting inside the Atma through the causal body into the Sukshma body and manifesting as the emotion. See the connection. Where is God located? God is located inside the Atma. Yasya Atma Shariram. And God is located beyond everything, the transcendental supreme one Vitirek Swarup. Beyond everything, the one singular being that transcends all, where there's none like that being. So this is the whole point of bhakti. In bhakti, there is the basic concept of a movement from the Agnya Chakra to the Sahasrara. And you will see I put the Vibhuti here and put this round tilak here. Why is that? To show a certain concept. At the Agnya Chakra level, that is where waking state, Jagrat, Sapna, Shushupti, Sthul, Sukshma, Karan, Sattva, Raj, Tam, all of this stops at this Agnya Chakra. It is up to that level. Let's keep this in mind very carefully. Once we go beyond that consciousness, beyond that duality, that is there, dvanda titam gagana sadrusham tattvamasyadi laksham. We've been talking about that verse every day. So the dvandas, the dualities that humanity is afflicted with in Mahamaya, that is transgressed at the Agnya Chakra. Now you will notice something interesting, that when we are performing devotional seva or devotional service in any of the 9 forms, one of the things that we notice is that, yes, we are trying to concentrate on God. And as we try to concentrate on God in any form, maybe through some people do through Guru, some people do through Murti or through tradition, some people do through book, like in Sikhism is done through book, Guru Manyo Grantha. So there's different ways that people are trying to connect with the theistic God. But the notion of theistic, one singular monotheistic God has to be kept in mind for devotion to be, as I mentioned before. Otherwise there will not be devotion. There will just be awareness or just atmic consciousness, that's all. Bhakti is a whole different matter. So as I mentioned in the previous recordings, just a quick review, that bhakti occurs when there is form, sakar form. Without the sakar form of God, one cannot worship God. Yes, is God present everywhere? Ishavasya sarvam? Yes, sure. Why not? We can believe that God is present everywhere, but we are not at that stage of realizing God is everywhere. That's a different stage. That is a stage beyond the Sahasrara Chakra. So what we consider Akshardham or the different states beyond Mahamaya, all those things are beyond Sahasrara Chakra. But between the Agnya Chakra and the Sahasrara Chakra, when you cross Agnya Chakra, that is, you're crossing Maya. When you cross Sahasrara Chakra, you're crossing Mahamaya. That is the difference. And so in the scripture known as Vachanamrutam, Sajanand Swami Maharaj has mentioned something called Archi Marg. As you know, some of you have been listening to these talks and expositions. Part of my intention is to try to connect the foundational base to understand things like Vachanamrutam, things like Gunatitanand Swamini Vato, things like Bhagavad Gita, or Brahma Sutra, 555 Brahma Sutra. There is a massive base that needs to be really realized before these things can truly be understood for what they are. You see, so in our exposition of emotion, particularly the Navaratna Malika, to keep our attention on that, we have also talked about the Shadripu. So the Shadripu is the massive problem. It is the problem. It is none other. This is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. These 6 are the killers of humanity, and they destroy the person from inside out. If you look at the lineage of the Sanatana Dharma and even other traditions, any enlightened person who has come has talked about these 6, or has overcome them, or has transmuted them. You look at Hanumanji, for example. Hanumanji says he's Mahavir. Mahavir is not because of just the physical strength. It's because of overcoming these 6, or being able to go beyond these 6. In the life of Sajanand Swami Maharaj, who is known as Sri Swaminarayan Bhagavan, he said that his mission was to destroy the inner enemy, the inner Rakshasa. So this is what has to be destroyed. It doesn't matter what else we do. We might do whatever we are doing in life, but if this is still going on, there is a lot of energy damage. And that goes back to, just as a quick review, and I'm going to talk about something interesting with Gunatitanand Swami in just a moment here. But there's this thing about Shad Urmi. So Shad Urmi means what? Hunger, thirst, grief, delusion, decay, and death. Okay, so this is actually from the Shoda Ganga, which is a critical study of the Shiva Gita. There's even a Shiva Gita, believe it or not. So this is described in there. And this is described in many places. Adi Shankaracharya has described this also. And in Vachanamrut this is described also in a little different way. So these are the waves of experience. We feel hunger, that's a wave of experience. Urmi means wave. So the first 2, as I mentioned, belong to the prana. Hunger and thirst are part of the prana. The next 2 are part of the body, grief and delusion. You see, next 2 are part of the mind. And that's where these 6 doshas come into play, as I mentioned last time. Now, why are these doshas there? This is a very interesting question. Why are these 6 things there? So there is a very interesting answer to that question that is given in a Gujarati scripture known as Swami Vato. And the sage who spoke those talks in the state of Gujarat for years and years and years, 40 plus years, 40 some years, was Sri Gunatitanand Swami. This is the image of him, actually. You can see who he is. And there is a tremendous answer to this question, why these doshas exist. So he has given this answer actually, and others have also given in a different way. I'm going to read this in Gujarati and I'm going to translate it to try to connect this piece together a little bit here. So in the Gujarati language, it is written here, dosh rahe છે ને ટળી જાતા નથી, તે એક કેવળ દોષ જ છે કે તેમાં કંઈક ગુણ પણ છે. He's asking the question that these 6 enemies, these doshas, there are so many, these 6 have so many branches, you can make 1,000 list out of that thing. Are they simply existing just to destroy us, just to hurt us? They're just doshas, that's all? Or are they actually existing because there is still some good quality even in them? What a question. See the question. See the intensity of the question he's posing. Because he's living beyond the state of the 3 gunas, beyond the Agnya Chakra. He's living in that Atmic and Brahmic consciousness all the time with God. Human body is there, but there is no entanglement process at all going on. So whatever he spoke, and others have spoken from that level also. You know, whoever has reached that have spoken from their own perspective given the time and circumstances. But this question here, this is like almost like the 11th, it's actually the 12th, number 12 Vat meaning statement or like talk in the very first chapter, Prakaran. It's very, very interesting. What a question this is. Let's stay with the question. All these terrible things that humanity is suffering with again and again, without any stop, 7,000 wars recorded, killing going on constantly, hurting each other verbally, emotionally, mentally. Not to mention the Kam and Lobh and Krodh and addiction problem. You just name it. The list is endless. So that is called dosha. Dosha is an obstacle. So he's asking the question, again in Gujarati, dosh rahe છે ને ટળી જાતા નથી. Rahe છે means they're remaining. They're not going away. He's describing clearly the situation of not only normal, ordinary human beings or people even below normal functioning. He's describing the situation of people on the spiritual path. People who may have even become sadhus, people who have become satsangis, people who have become devoted to God, all that thing. Still this problem remains. A to Z. From the most downtrodden person to the nearly enlightened person, everybody is afflicted by the same doshas. That's what he's talking about. Dosh rahe છે ને ટળી જાતા નથી. I'm speaking Gujarati here. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to translate for you every single word here. It's very powerful words. Every statement made by Gunatitanand Swami, who is from Junagadh in Gujarat. There's a Swaminarayan temple there. He spoke for 40 years things like this. This is only an extract. See the question very carefully. They're abiding. These doshas are remaining. They're not going away despite so many efforts. Different sadhana, even Navda Bhakti is done, this is done, that is done. Why they're not going away? Why they're still coming back again and again, again and again? This is the question. Dosh rahe છે ને ટળી જાતા નથી. તે કેવળ દોષ જ છે કે તેમાં કઈ ગુણ પણ છે? Is it just simply that these doshas are just running amok? That's it? Or look at the vision of an enlightened being. What is he saying? Can you find something important, something good, some gun? Gun meaning a good quality, an important quality, good quality inside the doshas. Now I'm going to ask you this question. Let's be very clear about the question. These 6 things, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada and Matsarya. Is there something good about this? Is there something good in it actually? That is the question. Most people would say, no, these things are damaging. And they are. Obviously, they cause tremendous amount of damage. All right. Now this is interesting. See the answer that he gives. He says here, He says, "E prashna," that's the question. So here's the answer. Teno uttar. So he asked the question and he answered the question. This is the approach taken by enlightened beings. Even Adi Shankaracharya ji in Vivek Chudamani has done exactly that. He has created Guru Shishya Samvada. Even many of the saints in all sampradayas have created scriptures where question answer is there. There's another reason for doing that, because that question may not even occur to people. So the enlightened sages, they pose the question. They pose the question for us, not because they need to realize something more. They are posing it for us. So now here's the answer. Uttar meaning answer. He says here, dosh pide teti satsangma deen adeen rehvai. Now he's given the first answer here. See, every single word has to be kept in mind very carefully. First of all, the word dosh is used. Dosh is these 6 ripus, shad ripu. They're there. And they cause suffering. See the word pida. In Gujarati, the word is pida. Pida meaning what? That they are continuing to afflict the individual time and time again. Maybe for some period of time they go away and they come back. Some period of time they go and they come back and they come back. That is what is meant here. It's like jam-packed, like an atom bomb kind of statement that is going to be made here. They're all like that in the Swami Vato. So he says, dosh pide tethi satsangma deen adeen revai. Now what he's saying here is that because of the doshas, that has an impact on the ego. It's a very interesting psychological piece. And I've been studying psychology and all this for years. I don't think anybody has put it this way. I mean, maybe they have, maybe in a different way. But what he's saying here is that in the process of satsanga, of spiritual evolution, so those who are in the process of internal evolution, spiritual evolution, in Gujarati that is known as prakrutinu parivartan. That is what that is known as. Those who are going through that process, that is called satsanga, that is called the different types of sadhanas that are shown, all different kinds. What happens when these doshas come about? One becomes humble because he realizes that these are doshas and I have a lot more to do. Humility comes about. Deen adeen means he becomes very, very, obviously there's a drainage of energy and there's a realization, oh, I made all these mistakes, these terrible things have happened, whoa. So then one becomes very humble. So that humility that comes in satsanga due to the doshas, that is the good quality within the doshas. What a statement this is. It's absolutely mind-boggling and incredible to really think about. That to be humble. See, here's the other problem. Let's say someone, take brahmacharya as an example. Let's say someone is truly getting established in brahmacharya. Or someone has overcome anger, nishkrodh. No anger is there for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. There can be the ego behind that. Oh, look at me. I have overcome this. That ego of even overcoming the 6 ripus, the shad ripu, is even worse than the shad ripu. And that is what is implied in this answer that he gave. He's giving this answer to show, illustrate, and highlight the importance of humility. Deen adeen revai. Humility is the one thing that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it is tremendous. But why does a person become humble this way? Because there's a realization, oh, I'm trying to realize God, I'm falling back. I'm trying to realize God, I'm falling. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, this is known as a Yog Bhrashta Atma. Lifetime after lifetime goes on. And in Vachanamrutam also, Sajanand Swami, he also explained beautifully, somebody is trying to win the mind. Man jitwa માટે પ્રયત્ન કરે છે, મન જીત્યું નથી. ફરીથી જન્મ થાય. Meaning what? That the mind is not fully integrated, one has not transcended it. And as a result of that, rebirth occurs. So these doshas are experiential. Let's be very clear. This is not a theory. It's not a philosophy class, and nor is it like a dissertation somebody's writing on the doshas. There is that. Thousands of pages are written. But that's not what this is about. This is about experience. Anubhav. We have direct experience of the doshas. And so when they are recognized as damaging oneself. See the word pide. The word pide means what? That there's affliction, damage, hurt. Who is it hurting? It's hurting the individual and hurting outside people. There's two types of damage and probably more than that. But anytime a dosha shows up, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Matsar, all those 6 things, they hurt the individual. Why? Why do they hurt the individual? They hurt the individual because the energy system inside the body gets shattered. That is the problem. That is the problem. And nobody can deny the existence of energy. And if somebody really looks at what is happening within their system, energies are moving in so many different ways and they get torn apart. So the whole idea of Shakti, which we consider in the Sanatana Dharma as Devi, or as the goddess Durga, or as the goddess Lakshmi, or as the goddess Mahasaraswati, or as the Mool Prakriti, all of that power that is there in the Mool Prakriti is flowing through our system. And that is the power of God. Bhagwan ni Shakti, Bhagwan ki Shakti, Daivi Esha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Duratya. So that power is to be recognized. Experiential, experience. In the life of Gunatitanand Swami, there was a continuous attention on experience, on anubhav, what's actually going on, not just concepts. Concepts are there. So many people are proficient in concepts. But his state of realization or divinity, as it is coming, so he's speaking from there. He's not speaking from second-hand information. Like right now, I'm talking about this particular verse and giving some references and all that. That is second-hand information. It's okay. I take this Navaratna Malika and all these ideas. I take them, and by the grace of God, by the grace of the Paramatma, Bhagwan, that it can become first-hand. So the second-hand information that we hear and think about can come into our anubhav. So the words that are outside are internally realized. If the internal realization is not there, it is just a mental fascination, mental exercise, mental activity, philosophical activity, debate-oriented activity. That's all. Not the actual. So he's asking the question, and the answer is so beautiful. Dosh pide, teti satsangma deen adhin reva. This is the first part of the answer. That means reva meaning the person stays on the spiritual path, on the religious path, in satsanga, in different ways the satsanga comes. Satsanga is obviously contact with that which is true, which is God, the Paramatma, the Atma, the Satpurush and Sat Shastra and Sad Vichar. All of this is satsanga, very clear. And anything other than that is not satsanga. It is all part of this mixed up, crazy world that we live in. So when he says dosh pide teti satsangma dinadin reva, he's giving that benefit that a person becomes humble. Then he says here, interestingly, he says satsangni garaj rahe. That's the second answer. Why what is the good thing inside the doshas? That because they are there, one is continuously trying to evolve further. If they were not there, there would not be any evolution further. And we've talked about this before, that to evolve into the Atmic or Brahmic state, there has to be Agnan. If there is no Agnan, there is no Maya, there is no expression of Maya, there's just a dormant, no experience state. How can there be evolution further? So that is why Mahamaya expresses as infinite number of universes, expresses these bodies that we have, and that is how the various sadhana and everything is done, because you recognize the existence of the doshas. So because they're there, you can overcome them. If there was nothing there, how can you overcome? For example, if there is no kama vasana, how can you become a brahmachari? There has to be Kam Vasana to be a brahmachari. Otherwise, you're nothing. There's no energy flowing. You're dead. There's a dead body. So if there is no Vasana, you cannot reach brahmacharya. There has to be some. Now the exception to that, there's only one or two exceptions. Those are the siddhas that are born, or the incarnations of God, or the Paramatma himself comes in human form and it plays a role as a lila or as like a natwar, as a lila. That's a different matter. But for everybody who is living in this sansar, the desires are there, and those desires are there so that the importance and significance and remaining within satsang, the need for satsang arises. And from the satsang, the need for satsang will transmute the doshas. Remember, we talked about this the other day. The transmutation of each dosha, the kama transmutes into brahmacharya, the krodha transmutes into karuna, compassion, the lobe transmutes into charity and into an open sense of wealth rather than the limitation. Moha turns into jnana, and mada, arrogance, turns into humility, and jealousy turns into that state of sarva jiva hitavaha. That's a transmutation. So these six transmute. They're not controlled or suppressed or anything like that. They are transmuted. It's in the Gujarati language, it is called parivartan. Prakriti nu parivartan. Parivartan means transmutation into different form. And that was the whole mission of Sajanand Swami Maharaj at that time. And Gunaditanand Swami that we see here, this very, very powerful statement. Now the third part of the answer. He says here, Ne Bhagwan ni smriti thai. This is the third answer given. Why the doshas are there. If these terrible things are there, lobha and greed and burning of the power from within, because of these six, there is, see, Bhagwan ni garaj, he says, latching on back into Navadha Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Again, back again into, oh Lord, I am nothing, I'm your servant, I don't know anything. Please save me, please bless me, please, that bhav, or towards one's guru also. Same kind of feeling can be there. So the need for bhakti arises. He says there, Bhagwan ni smriti thai. Smriti means what? Smriti means remembrance. Think about what we are remembering. If I have to ask myself, or you can ask yourself, what is it that we are remembering when these six doshas show up? We don't have to elaborate too much. I think we would already know. When these six show up, what are the images that show up inside the mind? So the smriti is of the objects of the world in relation to these six processes, these six inner processes, and the mind is absorbed inside those six processes of kama, krodha, lobha, moha. But now when you say Bhagwan ni smriti, the same energy, the same mind starts to contemplate on God. Why? Because of the pain of the doshas. The word pide in Gujarati means what? The pain of the doshas. See this point. Very, very powerful point. Now the next thing he says here. Ne doshno kajyo hoy, teti gnan thatu jai. Tremendous statement. I'm going to explain this. Is very, very interesting. You could write, somebody could write multiple dissertations on that line only. Kajyo means what? Meaning it's the basic like an internal war that is going on. There's a youth going on. The word youth would be there, but the word kajyo, if I'm not mistaken, it just basically means so much confusion and mixture and so much torment from within. All that kind of stuff is implied in that word. That's going on there. So doshno kajyo hoy teti gnanta. So because there's confusion and delusion and all kinds of mixed states, because there are mixed states internally, gyan can come from that. What a statement this is. This is really something. He's not saying you just run after the doshas. He's saying that try to find why they're there, what is the experience in them, what kind of jnana can come out of that, what the smriti that occurs in the mind towards God, the power that is used by the doshas. Again, he's not using the word Shakti directly. In many of the teachings of most gurus, they don't use the word Shakti directly. It's kind of hidden within. And there's some reasons behind that too. We'll talk about that some other time. The reason this is spoken like this is because we can understand Smriti. We can understand that, oh, we're thinking about our family, or we're thinking about, some object outside, or we're thinking about a car, or we're thinking about money, or thinking about stock market, or whatever. Those things, we can understand that. And so then Bhagavan ni Smriti, meaning the Smriti in the contemplation, thinking of God, that occurs because there are doshas. And that should be recognized. Bhagavan ni Smriti thai, ne dosh no kajiyo hoy tethi gnan thatu jai. What that means is that because of all the mixture of the doshas, because that mixture is there, see this point. That's what he's saying. Because that is there, you can get jnana, you can get gnan. People who don't have that mixture, either they're fully enlightened, Brahmic consciousness, or they don't care. They consider that those doshas are simply just, that's life, just keep running after Kam, Krodh, Lobh, and then die one day. This question that he's posing is applicable specifically for those people who are trying to evolve into the spiritual dimension. It is people who don't care about that, they're just running after sexuality and money and possession and all these things, they're just stuck in that. Even those people suffer tremendously. They cannot open the doorway into Ananda that way. So now look at the answer here. Very beautiful. Now, what he says here, he gave these 4 answers, okay, to this question. What is the good thing to find from the doshas? He said, I'll just review one more time. He says, one remains humble, deen adheen, within the satsang process, number 1. Number 2, he says that the smriti of God, Bhagwan ni smriti, God, the smriti of the Paramatma can happen this way. The third thing is that because all the mixture of the doshas and all the chaos that is there, maybe the best translation for the word kajiyo is the internal chaos that comes. That kajiyo is like a war and a confusion, all that mess is there. Because that is there, it is an opportunity for jnana through satsanga. From the multitude of gurus and sampradayas that are there. And there's many other ways of thinking about jnana, we'll get to that later on. That's the third answer. That's the fourth answer. He says 4 answers are given. And then he says here something even very interesting. He says, Te vina evi garaj rahe nahi, mate e gun che. Meaning what? Unless these doshas are actually there, one would not try to realize the Atma, one would not try to have smriti of God, one would not do anything that is spiritually related because there is no suffering. If drugs, alcohol, sexuality, money and power and position, if these things and in the human body, and if the body just remained as it is for years and years and years without any affliction, and there was no problem of any kind, who would go into any spirituality? For what reason? For what purpose? Why should anybody when there's no need? That's what he's saying. Devina evi garaj. Garaj means what? The need for it. The need to connect with God, the need to associate with God, the need to overcome the doshas. It would not happen unless the pain is there. And obviously, in everybody's experience, there is tremendous pain and suffering in the doshas. But he says, so he's saying that the existence of the pain and suffering is the base on which the enlightenment occurs, and without that, there will be no activity done of any kind by a person to realize that state beyond this suffering. He said, and then the last part he said, Mate e gun che. So what is see that he said there that is the best, that is the quality, the guna is the great quality. These 4 things he mentioned are the good qualities embedded within the doshas, or the doshas, because they're there, they can open these up. Now how beautiful this is. That is the state of realization. See, when we are trying to understand spirituality, personal development, inner development, different language is used. But whatever the language, whatever the tradition, the truth is only one. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. The truth is not two different things. Truth is only one, and that one truth is expressed by the sages in different ways. All right, so now, part of what we're trying to do in our daily satsang is to set the base of Sanatana Dharma. The Sanatana Dharma is the base upon which the various sampradayas have come about. And so to solidify that base and to solidify the energy within our system, we will be using the Shiva mantras and the Devi mantras next. So this is part of our sadhana. Why these two mantras are needed? Because they are inside of us. The energy, all energy inside the mind and the body. Gnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti Swarupini. In the Lalita Sahasranam, the Lalita Ambika Devi is considered to be the Swarup of Gnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti. It is a Shakti, it is the energy, it is the power inside of us. So that is the Devi, or the goddess that is sitting inside of us as the energy. And the Shiva is the Atma. This is the way to think about it. The Atma is the soul. Shiva has many different names. So the Namah Shivaya mantra, which we will be doing, that mantra, as well as the Navaran mantra, what it does, it combines together and pulls together in the 9 chakras the energies that are split because of the doshas. So that is a way of setting the foundation. Now, those who are Vaishnavas or who belong to Swaminarayan tradition or other traditions, remember one thing, that the Shiv Shakti Upasana or Bhakti is not something that is generally done in those traditions. So because they start at the Agnya Chakra. You must understand the reason, like in the Swaminarayan tradition, there is something called Shikshapatri. Right? Shikshapatri means what? It is a 212 verse scripture. If somebody starts following all of that completely with the Upasana of God and Gurus and all that, immediately your consciousness raises straight to Agnya Chakra, and that is called Agnya Grantha. But those who are not at that stage of directly following this thing, and all the energies are broken and torn apart, the Shiva mantras and the Durga Devi mantras are absolutely essential. They are weapons. They are the weapons that the Devi holds. So we're going to go into that just a moment. So I just want to make sure that's clear as to why it is that is done. Okay, so I'm going to move through all these slides here. Okay, and we will now remember, as we're moving forward, before we get to the mantras and into the closing of the satsang today, we are always trying to realize Vasudeva Kutumbakam. This is the foundation. If this is not realized, it doesn't matter how many Maharaj does, or how many sadhana, or how many upvas, or how many tapasarya. I may have 50 scriptures memorized. It's a big zero. It's nothing at all unless this is realized. Vasudeva Kutumbakam is the foundation of spirituality. If this is not realized, nothing is realized. Absolutely nothing. It cannot, because then there is differentiation and raga and dvesha, raga and dvesha, raga and dvesha. This is mine, this person is mine, this person is not mine, this caste, this color, this creed, this religion, this, that. Internally evolve out of that. All great sages, like for example, in the scripture known as Vedras, a very beautiful scripture. These are letters written by Sajanand Swami Maharaj, who is known as Sri Swaminarayan, to his bhaktas, to his paramansas. He's talked about this state, of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. He's talked about it in a way that is unimaginable. He's talked about it in a way that's even beyond this state. He says something like this, that the Vyashti Samashtatmak Deha Potanu Swarup Nathi. What that means is, he's in that one sentence, I'll tell you what it means. That this physical individual body is called Vyashti Deha, the individual body. And the Samashti Deha, the universal body, they are one. Pind and Brahmand are one. Pinda Brahmanda se paranija atma jani ke mama guna gave. That they are one. So that oneness is there. But the Atma is beyond the Brahmanda. Is beyond the earth and the moon and the sun and the stars and everything. Can you imagine this? But to get to that stage, we cannot be stuck in fragmentation in this world with the different races and traditions and cultures and all the mess that is there, with the conflicts that are there. We have created chaos, and the mind is trapped within that. So to evolve out of that, this Vasudeva Kutumbakam, this fantastic realization of the rishis from ancient times is the foundation. And without that foundation, everything else is just a fantasy. There's no realization of anything without this. That is where the Upanishadic rishis and even in Vedas and Vachanamrut, other scriptures have written Tattvamasi, Ayam Atma Brahma, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Soham Pragnananam Brahma. These are Mahavakyas. They're Mahavakyas, they're not an ordinary statement. Tattvamasi. That state is realized by the rishis once they come to this stage, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So anyway, we have a lot of passion for this idea. It should not just be an idea, it's a fundamental truth. So again, on that basis, Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Gnanamurtim Dvandatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimanavachanam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna Rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. This is again the state of a true Sadguru. It's a state of realization. It is not simply a particular form or a particular dress or a particular just how much knowledge somebody has or exposition. No. This is a state, and we have gone into this in previous recordings in depth. I just want to emphasize the point here, as we were talking about Gunatitanand Swami's teaching today from that particular verse. This whole idea about Triguna Rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Triguna Rahitam. Three gunas are psychological reactions. What are they? They're psychological reactions between the Karan Sharir and the outside body. The outside world through the physical body. So one who's beyond the psychological reaction, which is using energy. Again, it goes back to energy. The three gunas use tremendous amount of energy. So Gunatit means you have the fullness of power, and that fullness of power, it folds back into the Atma. And that is called Atma Sakshatkar. And then of course Paramatma Sakshatkar after that. So the Atma Sakshatkar, not just a belief in Atma, is occurring when the three gunas have no hold over the individual. Somebody praises me, no problem. Somebody insults me, no problem. Somebody uses foul language against me, no problem. Somebody says you're a fool, this and that, no problem. Somebody throws dirt on me, no problem. So somebody puts flowers on me, no problem. I have diamond in one hand and dust in the other hand. Samaloshtashma Kanchana, no problem. That is a liberated being. Truly, true liberation is this. Otherwise, chalta hai sansar mein sab kuch as is going on. But this is the reality. Now, as we move ahead, again, remember the connection between Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya and Bhakti. These are very important points here to keep in mind. That in Vachanamrutam, Sajanand Swami again and again has emphasized this. His manifestation was for this purpose, and at the same time, the scripture known as Vasudev Mahatma. And if you look at Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the major acharyas and their teachings, you can extract it into these 4 points: Dharma, Jnana and Vairagya, and Bhakti, meaning the Dharma, Jnana and Vairagya are the protectors of Bhakti. And once that is protected, what happens inside your system? What happens to you? Your Muladhara Chakra, we started with Sri Ganesha today in today's Satsang. Om Gangadapade Namaha. In the Muladhara Chakra is the presence of Lord Ganesha. In the Swadhisthana Chakra is the presence of Lord Subramanyam. So different Vishnu Tattva and all these different Tattvas are present inside here. In the Agnya Chakra is the presence of Shiva. You see, so Shivling, Jyotirling, all these divine forms are there within the Agnya Chakra. And the Sahasrara Chakra is a 1,000-petal lotus. So when you have Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya and Bhakti, this entire energy system of Ida Nadi, Pingala Nadi, Shushmana Nadi, these nadis that are holding this tremendous energy, and are spinning the chakras, expanding them or contracting them, they get balanced. So this is a bypass route. In Vachanamrutam, Garuda Pratham number 25, Sajanand Swami Maharaj has given two paths there. Path of Ashtanga Yoga and the path of Bhakti Yoga. Two paths, Bhakti Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. The 200 Yoga Sutras of Patanjali Rishi are talking about this systematic expansion of this power up to the Sahasrara Chakra through Ashtanga Yoga, and then the different states of Samadhi. Sampragnat Samadhi, Asampragnat Samadhi, Nirvikalpa, Savikalpa. All that thing happens after Agnya Chakra. So Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya and Bhakti, what do? If they are truly present, like Sachin is speaking right now, only for himself, not for anybody else. If it is the will of the Parameshwar, that others be benefited, that is his will. Sachin has nothing to do with that. I have to keep attention on me. Gunatitanand Swami said, Potana Kalyanama Drishti Barabar. Keep attention on your development. Forget about everybody else. Don't worry about anybody else. Sometimes we're so concerned about other people's enlightenment, we forget our own. So Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti is the essence. It's a powerhouse. It is a massive power. What does it do? It takes the energy in the Muladhara Chakra, which is Kundalini Shakti, the dormant power that is the Kundalini, and it awakens it. But it awakens it in what way? Because there is Jnana and Vairagya and Dharma, the result of that awakening is 100% saintliness. Purana Sadhuta. Siddhis are there. Some people are after siddhis and mind-reading powers and all those kinds of things. I've seen that's there. I've seen sages who have those kinds of powers. But that's not the real thing. The real thing is 100% non-ego state of saintliness, sadhuta. That is the result. That is the life of the person. So the body and mind live. So what happens in this? All the deities in the 9 chakras, all the energies in the 7 chakras, and there's 2 in the back of the head, they come together. And they begin to function in alignment with the highest reality. So it doesn't matter where the person goes, the Parameshwar who is sitting inside, the Atma, becomes alive, becomes awakened. It's the end of the Jnana Yagna, Brahma Yagna. It becomes awakened, and that's why one of the sages of Sajanand Swami Maharaj called Nishkulanand Swami, he has stated, Santa chale tyare hu chalu re, Santa jage tyare hu jagu re, Santa bole tyare hu bolu re. That means it's like this. That means a truly enlightened being is holding God. So God is working through that person. This is where we want to get to. That yes, Sachin is there as a functional being with a name and form and everything else. But everything else that is part of the ignorance, as we were saying before, that gets dissolved. And so the Ida Pingla Sushmana opens up Divya Ananda, Divya Bhoga Samanvitam. In the Rudram, this comes in Nyasa actually. Divya Bhoga is there. See, so like in the Swaminarayan tradition, one of the gurus in different Guru Paramparas, there was a guru named Yogiji Maharaj. You can Google Yogiji Maharaj. You can just see his face. You don't even need to do anything else. You can just see his face. You don't need anything else. You just see his face and you will see that he's just a totally living in ecstasy. Divya Ananda, Brahmananda. No Katha Varta is needed. No presentation like this is needed. Nothing is needed. He's just swimming in that oceanic consciousness of the Brahmananda. Raman Maharishi, look at his picture, his face. Look at Ramakrishna Paramans. Look at their just what we can see from just their physical form. It is just an overflow of the Brahmananda. That is because they don't have any blockages inside of them. It is childlike simplicity. But the enlightenment is childlike, but it is not like a child. It is filled with jnana. The child is filled with ignorance. It doesn't have, it's agnan. It is childlike but not like a child. Remember that point. So very beautiful. We have many gurus out there in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, in all Sanatana Dharma. There are tremendous saints and sages, and many are unknown. But our goal, whatever they may be, is fine. Where are we? So if we really want this, we can have it. There's nobody who has a human body. Everybody who has a human body has the right to realize who they are, has the right to evolve the energies within and open the door into constant divine joy, Divya Ananda. Everyone has that God-given right. Who doesn't have that right? See, like even if you look at teachings of Vivekananda Swami, why Vivekananda Swami traveled the whole world? For what reason? He could have just stayed in Dakshineshwar and completely just done the sadhana. But that is a seva. He's doing a certain seva for the benefit of the world and evolving himself also. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because there's a couple of reasons. When there is so much awakening, it has to be given. God will not allow the individualized ego to hold on to it. Impossible. That wealth, the spiritual wealth, has to be given. Is given by God through the particular individual, through all of us in this context and all the other devotees. Once we have spiritual wealth that feel that should be shared, we must share that. It must be shared. If it's not shared, then what will happen? Well, actually, I'll put it to you this way. If it is the will of the Paramatma, it is going to be shared. Nobody can stop it from happening. So that is the power of the overflow of realization. Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti solidifies the entire energy structure, opens up all of the 9 chakras, takes right from Muladhara all the way to the Agnya chakra. And this point, by the way, is in Vachanamrutam, Garada Pratham number 49, Antardrashtinu Vachanamruti. He said that Shat Chakra dekha hai, Golokadik, Vaikunthadik dham dekha hai, to pan Antardrashti nathi. He's saying that these are intermediate stages. From the Muladhara to the Sahasrar is an intermediate stage in the development of the sadhaka into the Brahmic consciousness. We want to get to that state. Esha Brahmi sthiti partha nainam prapya vimuhyati sthitvasyam antakalepi brahma nirvanam ruchyati. So that is the last verse in chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita. We want to get to that Brahmic state. But to get to that Brahmic state, the intermediate experiences are of the 6 chakras. It's a Shat Chakra, Bheda it's called. So Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti pierces right through them. It absolutely, without having to go through too many difficult sadhanas like Ashtanga Yoga, it pierces through them beautifully. Okay, so we could keep talking about this, but again, our goal is to realize Ananda. The Ananda is God, Bhagavan, sitting inside the Atma, Ananda Kanda. This is one of the points written by Sajanand Swami Maharaj, whose image we see on the right side here. He has stated again and again and again that inside the Atma is the Paramatma. Just as there is the sesame seed, and the sesame seed has oil within the sesame seed, similarly the Atma is like the sesame seed, and there is the oil within that is the Paramatma. So the source of all joy is God sitting inside the Atma, and that point is according to Vishishtadvaita. And our goal here is Anandam, without suppression or hyper-indulgence. Okay, now to finish up, we're going to do our Shiva mantras and the Devi mantras all the way to the end here now. So here we go.
Shivaya Namaha, Om Maheshwaraya Namaha, Om Sambhave Namaha,